How's it going, guys? Welcome back to another Fallout 76 build guide for Season 21, and today we're going to be covering a Bloodied heavy crit build. I do apologize for the delay. Unfortunately, my main Bloody build did not have all the proper resources, so I had to de-goal myself to make this video. I do hope you guys enjoy it. Now, this build is fairly tanky as well as has a lot of damage even without any buffs, and can get through the raids pretty easily as a solo, but it does fare a lot better when you do run with a team. So let's keep this short and sweet and get right to it. So here's the perk loadout that we are using. You can take a screenshot if you'd like, pause the video, but we have 10 strength, 9 perception, 10 endurance, 1 charisma, 4 intelligence, 7 agility, and 15 luck. So here are the perk cards that we are using. Now, to answer a question that will eventually come up in the next part of this video is why have Traveling Pharmacy and Through Hiker if you're using the Through Hiker's 3-star on your power armor? The reason why is because this build will be able to work for anyone who uses it. Because if you do use the 3-star Through Hikers, you can replace Traveling Pharmacy and either get full lock and load or use those 2 points elsewhere. And with Through Hikers, you can replace it with another endurance perk card that you might find useful or move those 2 perk cards elsewhere. And if you're one of the players who don't like using the Through Hikers 3-star, these perk cards will allow you to have reduced weight for those specific items. But moving on, this build is very focused on damage. As you can see, there's not a lot of resistances even though it is a bloody build. The two key factors that will keep us alive, even though we don't have a lot of resistances or defenses, is our emergency protocols on our torso and using overeaters. Now, this build also works for the Guardian if you like using ranged weapons against it instead of any cheesy methods like the Shredder minigun. And all you really need to do for your armor is just replace overeaters with troubleshooters. It feels a lot better. But the overeaters will allow you to tank everything or have resistances and damage reduction towards everything. Now, for the gorilla perk cards under agility, I find that those two perk cards together are better than down ranger under perception, and it gives me a little bit of extra damage because I personally like to stand close to my targets, which allows me to take advantage of that 45% increased damage. And lastly, for our luck, we do have one gun army, and you can swap that out for Bloody Mess if you'd like for extra damage, but I do use it sometimes for the Pepper Shaker if I want to tear through the shield of the Guardian very quickly. Now, for our legendary perk cards, I like to use the 5 same legendaries for every single build that I do, which is Endurance, Luck, Intelligence, Strength, and Agility all maxed out. Now, for the 6th card, you can use whatever your heart desires. If you're running solo just for snakes, you can do Funky Duds. If you run with teammates, you can do Take One for the team. Whatever you want, the 6th card is optional. Now, for the weapon, I like to use a Bloodied faster fire rate 35 LVC with pinpointers. Now, you can use Polished if you want as a replacement or Conductors for your 4th star. And for public servers, I do recommend using 50 crit over faster fire rate for consistency. The reason why I use faster fire rate is because I play mostly in private servers when it comes to raiding. For our mods, we have a prime receiver, stinging core, and accelerated. If you're going to be going for a conductors, I recommend the swift core instead of the stinging. But now let's go ahead and move on over to our power armor. So I use a Vulcan's PA set with overeaters plus 2 luck, through hikers, and rejuvenators. With our perk point setup and legendaries, that gives us 20 luck. With our full set of luck, that gives us 30. If you have herd mentality with strange in numbers, that gives you 33 when you're in a team with other players. If you mainly play solo, there's other ways to get that last point of luck to crit every other shot with critical savvy. The rejuve allows me to reduce the amount of max coffees that I use. Instead of like 12, I use about 9 or 10. And it also allows me to opt in for conductors if I do run out of coffees. But overall, in my opinion, Rejuvenators is one of the best 4-stars you can use for your power armor. Now, one of the required mods for any PA as a bloody build is emergency protocols. Since Nerd Rage has been changed, you no longer have damage reduction. This will help tremendously with your survivability. But for the rest, we use Calibrated, VATS Matrix, and Gimbals. Now let's go ahead and take this into the Guardian with using absolutely no buffs, and we'll go ahead and take Buddy out. Now, while he spawns, I want to mention one thing in terms of the build link that you'll find in the description. If you scroll all the way to the bottom, the armor is going to be missing a 3rd star. Again, as I mentioned in the beginning, it's completely optional unless you do want to use Through Hikers. Now, normally I would be using a Pepper Shaker to do the damage to the shield, but I wanted to showcase the full potential of the build. And you can see that we are tearing through his shield even without the Pepper Shaker. Now, one tip to surviving the Guardian, although it's not 100% guaranteed you will survive, but it does reduce the chances of getting absolutely melted. And that is by having yourself kind of covered by the pillar and in third person. Because if I swapped into first person behind that pillar in that spot, I would be focusing on the pillar, and if I stepped out to the right, more of my body would be exposed, meaning I'll take more damage. But as for the damage being dealt to the Guardian, we're hitting for roughly around 1800 per crit without any kind of buffs. And just like that, we're able to clear the Guardian with no problems at all. Let's go ahead and take this over to the Snake. Now the Snake is a little bit difficult as a bloody build, but definitely still able to be soloed even without buffs. One of the best tips that I can give in terms of surviving the Snake is as soon as you see him attack, get out of VATS and start spamming your stim packs. If you feel like your stim packs are not enough, I recommend switching to super stims or opting in for Field Surgeon under Intelligence. Now without buffs, we are hitting for around 1500 crits, which is not too bad for having absolutely no buffs active, just using the build and the weapon itself. But this is the perfect example of why stimming is important for this fight. If you are able to stim inside your PA, you can sit and tank all that poison damage and even sit in the poison if you want. Now this isn't always the best option. I still recommend moving around, especially if you get hit, because in public servers, if lag hits and your stim packs don't work properly, well, you're kind of going to die. So don't fully rely on it, but make sure that you stim every time he is about to attack. You cannot stim while you are vatsing. That's gotten a lot of people killed and a lot of people angry with me whenever I say this. So take off your VATS as soon as he's about to attack, keep shooting, and keep stimming. Now we're going to go ahead and skip ahead towards the kill and show you guys how we are still just sitting in poison, spamming stim packs when we can, and taking out the Snake with no problems. Yes, it was a little bit of a long run, but that's okay. Now normally I would add the Guardian fully buffed, but instead we're going to go for just the Snake so you guys can see what kind of damage and how much faster it is when you apply all of your buffs. For some of the buffs that we are using a Big Guns bobblehead, one of the three magazines, which is the Guns and Bullets 9, Tesla 7, and Tesla 9. We're also using an Overdrive, as well as our Blight Soup and our Soothens. And this is giving us upwards to 1900 crit damage, and it's significantly more when in a team. Now while we take out this Snake, I would like to cover one thing, and it's a question that I got quite recently, and is Furious still good with Bloodied? And to answer that, yes, it is still good, but it's not better than the Bloodied legendary role. I did do a very short comparison not too long ago, and the Furious build ended up doing a little bit less damage, and for the HP comparison, didn't compare to the Bloodied, even at this point where I'm not at Nerd Rage. It didn't make sense because they're about the same, around 101 damage for the Bloodied, or 103% damage with the Bloodied, and then 100 damage with the Furious. Bloody takes the cake, just like how we took out this Snake. But that about covers it. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, found the information useful, and if you do try this build, I hope you enjoy it as well. Of course, like I always say in most, if not all of my build videos, you can change this to your liking. It is definitely not the best build, but it does work, as you can clearly see. If you guys have questions about the build, let me know in the comments. I'll get to as many as I can and as quickly as I can. But I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. As always, thank you so much for watching. Happy hunting, good luck, and I'll see you guys in the next one.